Hello everyone, welcome back. Combat Patrol, issue 68 for the part 2 of 2 of the Neophyte Hybrids. So they give us our remaining sprue with our selection of bases, 2 there for the heavy weapons dudes. So in the front, so we've got our Colts here, preparing themselves for war, and our part 2 of 2, of our Neophyte Hybrids. The Outrider Broods and the campaign continues. So let's move on. So how to paint our Neophyte Hybrids, starting with Administratum Grey, and then Mythstone Red, bits of cloth. And for lenses, Lead Belcher for weapon systems. More Lead Belcher. What else we got? Wraithbone, Screamer Pink, Catching Flesh, and McCrag Blue. Rakar Flesh, Korax White, Retribute Armour, more Retribute Armour, Avalanche Sunset, Mythstone Red. And as they always like to put in the magazine, it is a work in progress. Still going to be working on it for a while. And so that's how they're looking down. They're looking nice. Rip down the deceivers and show them no quarter. We talk about there in the corner there as well. Tidy black areas with abdomen black. So they move on to the shades. Starting with Noon Oil, Caribou Crimson, Dragon Flesh Shade, Cordia Green Shade, and Agrax Earth Shade. And then we move straight on to highlights, covering up the areas that we added our shades: Mythstone Red, Calgar Blue, Stormhost Silver, and more Stormhost Silver, Night Questor Flesh, Pally Witch Flesh for the flesh, and Pink Horror, Tongue, Mechanica Standard Grey, Wild Rider Red, and Korax White. And that's how they should be looking. Work in progress. So we move on to Reed M, Dynasty of the Colts 07. And we got some minis here ready to go out. An Outrider Brood descends on a Chaos incursion into their territory. So Outrider Broods, the Dynasty of the Cult is always wary of its enemies and uses a network of spies and reconnaissance troops to keep an eye on the fringes of their ever-expanding territory. Outrider Broods are those who undertake their mission on fast, light vehicles. So I'll leave that there. Anyone wants to have a read? And we'll move straight on. So, variety of vehicles that they use: the Achilles Ridge Runner, Jackal Alphas, and then down here we've got some here. An Outrider Brood tests the defences of an Imperial outpost. And then we move on to Bonds of Honour, Part 16. Reed E, Silver Templar 16. So I'll leave that there. Everyone wants to have a read. And a bit of artwork down here. The brothers fire desperately as the orcs close in. And then we're still on our lore. Let's pan down. Leagues of Votan there. So we'll go on to our campaign. Play H Campaign 19, Aldari versus Dynasty of the Colts. So display of might for your battle map. To the proud Aldari, Dynasty of the Cult is like a hive sculling insects to be exterminated. But the zealous cultists are a cunning and resilient foe who will not be cowed by any oppressor, whether human or alien. So that's what we're using on this one. Aldari and Dynasty of the Colts. Moving on. So, was it an Aldari victory? Or was it a Dynasty of the Colts victory? And then we move on to our next campaign. Play H Campaign 20. So, Chaos Space Marines versus Dynasty of the Colts. Clash of Patrols. There's our map there. So the Chaos Space Marines will butcher the hybrids, genocide cults as gladly as they will loyal Imperial citizens. And to the cultists, the heretic Astartes are but another misguided oppressor to be cast down. So there's our poster boys there for our Chaos Space Marines and our genocide cults. Was it a Chaos Space Marine victory, or was it a genocide cults victory? So, scenario 42, overrun, play F scenarios 42. So, how to play this? Set the battlefield as shown on the next page. Place a total of 4 terrain cards with the battlefield debris, area, terrain, or barricade keywords shown. For your information, see terrains features C. Core rules 13. Neither side may take any enhancements, stratagems, or secondary objectives. The Genocide Cults player may use the Cult Ambush ability and the Genocide Cult ambush markers from the previous issue. So deployment. So the Genocide Cult player deploys 1 unit of 10 event hybrids in one of the deployment zones, and then they deploy 1 unit of 10 neophyte hybrids in the other deployment zone. Then the Orc player deploys 1 Death Dread in the deployment zone. The Orc player takes the first turn in this scenario. So there's our battle map there. Genocide the Cults, top right, bottom left. Set your battle map shown like this before you begin, with our terrain cards, which we will cover after. So how to win. At the end of the 5th battle round, the battle ends and the player with the greatest number of victory points is the winner. The Orc player scores 4 victory points at the end of Genocide's Cult turn. If the Death Dread is within a Genocide Cult's deployment zone, the Genocide Cult's player scores 20 victory points. Death Dread is destroyed. If players are tied for victory points after 5 battle rounds, the game is a draw. So I'm going to smash them. Then I'm like Grump. And then I'm going to smash them again. That's tactics. So that's Death Dread having a word of himself. Detachment rules covered here. Cult ambush. So we've got some scenarios there. I'll leave that there. Everyone wants to have a quick read of that one. And then a bit of a quote here from the Colts. And then, was it a victory in the gist of the Colts, a draw, or was it an Orcs victory with the Death Dread down there as post boy? And then our inner page there. Obviously, because we don't have the Astra Militarum yet, so we're still covering just these guys. I can imagine that's going to change next month. And then look forward to the Goliath Rock Grinder. Parts there, 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. So issue 6970, Cult of the 4th Armed Emperor, and the Old Ways. And there it is there. So that's the magazine done. What else we did get was, we got some terrain cards here. So that's on one side, and there's the other side. And then moving on. So we've got enhancements as well. More piece of terrain card there. We also got Data Slate for the Goliath Rock Grinder. And here's on the other side here. And then moving on. So we've got more here for the rest of our cults. And that covers this video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you'll enjoy. And I will see you all very soon for the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.